What would you do if someone gave you a check for $500 and simply said, go out and do good in God's world? Well, my guest today is a pastor of a church that did exactly that with their congregation. And what happened as a result was miraculous. Welcome, Pastor Laura Sumner, TRUAX.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, okay, everybody's wondering, $500. So your
Crazy.
church, LaSalle in Chicago, comes across $1.6 million windfall. How does this happen?
Well, that was a crazy thing. We made a real estate investment back in 1970. It was a mixed income, mixed race housing project, first of its kind in the country. And 35 years later, the restrictions on the property were coming off, and the developer wanted to sell. And so us and 4 other churches all stood to get a stake in the final sale price. So 1.6 million, huge, right? We beat Jimmy Buffett, or Warren Buffett. We beat him, yes.
Wow. So,
on that one deal.
Okay, so every church and every pastor is wondering, like, how does that happen? So, you know, you're sitting around as the board wondering, what do we do with this money? And I think for most people, they would be like, well, you know, pay off your mortgage, pay off this, pay off that.
And we had those people.
Yeah.
We had those people. Yeah, we got the news that we were getting this amount. It was in 2014. And we had many extended conversations on what should we do with that cash. For us, that was huge. It was twice what our annual budget is. And we did have a mortgage of $1.3 million on a ministry building, and we had some ministries that were struggling financially, and we had to take a deep breath, a deep pause, and think, what does the Lord have for us with this cash? And frankly, I was worried. I was, you know, money changes things. And we've always been, we're an urban church, kind of a scrappy church, no more than 300-ish on a good day, right? And I was concerned that maybe this money was going to change us a little bit. So it was actually in prayer where the Lord really pressed that, you know, first thing is give away some of this, tithe this first portion of the money. And I thought, what? What did you say? And slowly that idea started to take root in us, not without a lot of conversation, right? Because it's kind of counterintuitive to just receive money, and then if you're a church, that's what you're used to, at least getting some money. But to just give it away, that took some prayer. That took some prayer for us to get there.
And so you decided, as you said, to tithe $160,000 by giving it back to your congregation. A check, $500. But I love this. So you gave them a check, but you also gave them a book of discernment. And they had to join a prayer group.
And they didn't have to. We invited them to join a prayer group. And that was twofold. The $500 was what everybody got gratis that day, with the invitation to do something good with it in the world. And then at the lunch that followed that service, we invited people to join a discernment group. And we had more than 50% of our church joined together for 9 months, meeting monthly, to talk and to discern and to pray about what should we do with what one senior called the big money, right? Which was the remaining sum. And it was a powerful experience for us. And the whole idea was that God's voice was going to be heard in community. So that's what happened. That's exactly what happened.
So, you know, in this book that you've written, Love, Let Go, you talk about just a number of choices that people made. Some people made the choice of giving the money back to the church. Because they believe in the mission of the church. Some people decided, I love the story of this one man who just walked down the street with $20 and would just hand it out.
Isn't that powerful? Dan West, he's a guy who's always really close to Jesus, and he wandered the streets of his neighborhood, just asking, kind of a Jericho walk, you know, just asking the Lord to lay on his heart who he should go up to. And I don't want to give his whole story away. Buy the book, right? Love, Let Go. I'll tell you a couple other stories that I found really remarkable and humbling. One was a story, we have a number of homeless guys who are part of our congregation. And one of them, Steve Martin, was a guy who had lived in Lincoln Park, lived under a viaduct for years, and then had only recently gotten into stable housing at the YMCA. And he got his $500 check, and we had to pay him in cash. So we endorsed it back to the church. We gave him cash. And he went back to the viaduct and he took out his friends. And I love it, the way he talks about it on my iPhone. He said, you know, I rounded them all up. We went out to a real restaurant meal and a show. And he said it made me feel real good. It made me feel real good. And Steve passed away a few months ago, but he had something to share. And I think that's what people experience in that $500. They experience what one woman called the extravagance of generosity, the love of giving. And if I can just go on, you know, one of the things that we found in the course of our own story here of generosity is that there is a wealth of social research on generosity.
We're going to get back to that.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break because I want to delve more into that idea of generosity and what that looks like. And also tell you a little story about Steve's story that really touched me.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break. Again, the name of the book is Love, Let Go. We'll be back with Laura in just a minute.